welcome back to Cable 72.
Hello and welcome back to the Ritual Specialist. Though it may seem as if we've taken 33 episodes to teach only the techniques required to perform the most simple spell for protection, this is not the case. Each chapter in this lesson plan has actually contained more magical options than just the one. This was also done to protect the student, as in some cases, magic can be quite volatile or sensitive, depending on the practitioner's disposition as well as various environmental factors. The techniques covered so far and their suggested uses have all been inoffensive, inasmuch as they shouldn't cause harm to others or rile up spirits in such a way as to make them aggressive. However, the suggested uses are only suggestions, and the creative student will quickly realize other applications. Therefore, at this time, we will pause in introducing new rituals to briefly review and expand on the previous lessons. For those of you just joining us, welcome to episode 34 of a series. It is highly recommended that you watch the previous videos in this course available in a playlist below, as these lectures are cumulative, each one building off ideas laid down in previous chapters. However, for advanced students who are just joining us, who perhaps already know most of these lessons, this video can serve as a reference guide for the older episodes, which you may want to poke around in for fun, and if our brand of humorless humor is your thing. Each time the total runtime of the current string of videos reaches around an hour, we issue a compilation of that string, which will more or less keep each string centered around one goal. Book 1, chapters 1 to 18, mainly concern the making of a magical book, thereby arming a magician who can create such a book. Chapter 1 regards the Asperges May, a very simple purification ritual in the Solomonic magical tradition. Though it is highly recommended the beginner perform the ritual as is because of its powerful pedigree, the intermediate student might pare this down, washing only the hands and face, and or changing the words if they find admonishing the Abrahamic God particularly offensive. An advanced practitioner might not perform this ritual at all, seeing as they have probably created other methods for creating the boundary between magic time and normal time. Chapter 2 is about cleaning. It is important to clean for so many reasons, including basic hygiene. Fortunately, we live in an era where cleaning products are readily available in a way like never before in history, and it is possible to make a space completely sterile, both in a physical and a spiritual sense. But this is really about setting the mood. If you are trying to contact a holy and pure God and its messengers, then the space you are in had better be holy and pure. However, when attempting to contact lesser spirits, there are other things one can do to set the mood. For example, setting the lights down low and lighting a candle, but leaving a window open nearby, just a crack, to encourage the candle to flicker in a talkative fashion while you get out the Ouija board at your next slumber party. Of course, at the end of this, we recommend you return to the bath before performing any serious ritual, as you may be dirty from all that cleaning. Chapter 3 is the recitation of the Per Sanctum Mysterium, which does not actually have an original Latin, and was forcibly translated into Latin to be the complement for the Asperges May. In this ritual, we don the magic vestments as part of the reminder of the difference between magic time and normal time. After all, by attempting to use magic, you are essentially training your mind to be a gun, and it may be wise to put a safety on that gun so it doesn't accidentally go off any time you point it at anything. In Chapter 4, we cover a basic meditation of thoughtlessness, in case the person taking this course is totally unfamiliar with such things. It is also the most safe type of meditation, going along with our philosophy of encouraging an attitude of responsibility amongst would-be thaumaturgists. It is also a meditation that is good and of great benefit to the mental health for anyone, be they a beginner or a master. In Chapter 5, we suggest a technique for visualizing magical light that might even work for people suffering from aphantasia. This, of course, already allows us to perform sublime-level, empty-handed sigil magic, but that, of course, is quite advanced. In Chapter 6, we open our third eye with the meditation of seeing, using our other senses to increase our situational awareness and map it onto a visualized space in our minds, giving us sight beyond sight. This technique is extremely good for developing a 3D spatial sense, which is great for magical visualization for so many reasons that it is indispensable. However, it also enjoys great benefit in everyday life, allowing the user to avoid accident, seize opportunity, or even design and engineer products in their mind's eye. Chapter 7 is merely a shopping list of materials required for the upcoming experiments recording the construction of the book. In Chapter 8, the conjuration of the sword is given, which allows us to move on to Chapter 9, where we use the sword to bless and sanctify water and salt. The water and salt is then used to conjure the sword again, making it slightly more legitimate. With these tools, we can already perform low-level banishings on anyone or anything. With a magic sword, holy water, and sanct salt, we move on to Chapter 10, where we consecrate the candles, incense, and fire-starting tools, which we then use to bless the sword again, completing its enchantment. This is now a complete set of consecration tools that we can use to consecrate anything for intended magical purpose, as well as to banish or purify anything and to perform high-level blessings, with the use of incense burner and magical cup, as well as perhaps a mortar and pestle and some other tools. The entire science and art of magical herbalism opens up, but that, of course, is an entire subject of deep study. In Chapter 11, we consecrate a pen and ink, giving us access to the power of sigil magic, though we won't discuss that topic until later. In Chapter 12, our sigil magic becomes more legitimate with the introduction of magic paper. In Chapter 13, we consecrate the other magical tools we will need to manufacture the magical book, which pushes our arsenal away from being centered on consecration and opens us up to a variety of options. With the needle and thread, one can construct other magical garments, or to embroider sigils like those mentioned in the Black Pullet. Scissors, hammers, and nails can all be used to help create other magic tools or to perform symbolic actions in a ceremony. And of course, the fabric, clay, wax, and glue can be used to fashion things such as idols, puppets, or other small symbolic objects. In chapters 14, 15, and 16, we discuss the creation of the book, its consecration, and suggestions on what to write within. A grimoire is, of course, the primary tool of the sorcerer, as it generally contains the spells to create new magical tools and is therefore less easily replaced than the other magic tools. In Chapter 17, we teach a simple procedure for making a custom wax stamp from the materials we have already consecrated. Though it is somewhat unnecessary and superfluous, it adds a bit of aesthetic panache and an additional layer to add sigils in Western-style talismanic paper magic. Having now armed the magician completely, in Chapter 18 we issue a disclaimer as the completion to Book 1. All the experiments up to this point have been safe magic, meaning that we haven't suggested that you do anything in particular. The spells have been designed and ordered only to put the student in this position. So far, nothing has been done to rile up the spirits or cause any harm to the self or another. The practitioner may even choose to do nothing at all with these tools, putting them away forever. However, at this point, the topics may begin to verge into things that are adult and or dangerous, and it is important that the viewer be warned. Book 2, chapters 19 to 25, mainly introduces you to the system of 777, which we will be using as our main symbol set, as much like the metric system, it makes conversions of measurements very easy. Chapter 19 gives a short glossary of commonly used terminology in the chaos magic community. Chapter 20 gives a short history of magic as that history was understood by our forefathers. Chapter 21 gives a somewhat more accurate depiction of the history of magic. Chapter 22 is another shopping list, suggesting you obtain a tarot deck and a copy of 777. Chapter 23 gives the basic technique of gematria. Chapter 24 gives the basic technique of syncretism. And in Chapter 25, we finish the lesson with a very basic discussion about the Sephiroth. Book 3, though incomplete as of the recording of this video, mainly covers the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, for which we have finally laid down enough symbolism to fully appreciate. Chapter 26 is the middle pillar, a simple ritual to align the chakras. Chapter 27 is the Kabbalistic cross, another simple ritual for harmonizing the humors. In Chapter 28, we give a brief discussion of the pentagram, preparing you to perform the lesser banishing ritual by giving the entire system of elemental pentagram magic. Which finally brings us to Chapter 29 and the performance of the lesser banishing ritual. In Chapters 30 and 31, we discuss some variations of this ritual and encourage you to create your own custom version in Chapter 32. At this point, we string all the lessons together into one ceremony for a spell of protection in Chapter 33, in which we have basically given you enough instruction to perform any spell or ceremony you could imagine. So we must again reiterate our disclaimer. Up until now, we have only suggested safe practices and spells that are benign, such as blessing, consecration, and protection. However, as we proceed further into our discussion of the circle rituals in the tradition of GDOTO, we will begin to perform rituals of evocation as well as the rituals in the Z2 documents, all of which have specific ends and as such cannot be considered as safe or banal as the ones mentioned previously.